Greetings everyone, and welcome to the AI World Summit 2020, organized by MyFinB Group. Thank you for attending the special presentation and Fireside Chat session today entitled Artificial Intelligence and Robo-Advisory, How Realistic is Their Application in Shariah Assurance and Islamic Wealth Management? We are deeply honored today to have a special presentation by Adjunct Professor M. Nazri, founder and CEO of MyFinB Group, managing partner of CE.A.I, Honorary Consul of Cabo Verde, followed by a fireside chat with guest speaker, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Daud Bakar, Chairman of MyFinB Malaysia, Chairman of Amanie Group, Chairman of the Shariah Advisory Council, the Central Bank of Malaysia and the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Datuk Dr. Muhammad Daud Bakar had written variety of papers in numerous scholarly journals and had made a number of presentations at various conferences around the globe. He is a Shariah board member of the Dow Jones Islamic Stock Index, New York, Mohd Islamic Banking, Oman National Bank, BNP Paribas, Bahrain, Morgan Stanley, Dubai, Bank of London and Middle East, London, among other financial institutions. In the business sector, he remains on the board of directors of Sime Darby Bearhead and is a member of the GNP Investment Committee. He is also the third chair of Islamic Banking and Finance professor at Yayasan Tun Ismail Muhammad Ali Berdaftar, YTI, GNP at the Faculty of Economics and Muamalat, University Science Islam Malaysia, USIM. Without much further ado, I leave the digital stage to the special presenter and guest speaker of this session. Over to you, Adjunct Professor M. Nazri. And enjoy this wonderful session. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to everybody who just tuned in. Thank you for joining us at this hour. I hope you have had your meals, your rest, and so on. And for Dr. Daud Bakar, who is my mentor, my guidance, and my friend in many of my ventures, thank you for joining in despite being on the road, and being called upon to lend your thoughts. I know you have a special paper yourself to present tomorrow, but I thought having your perspective in this discussion would be very interesting for the audience and of course for myself too. And this paper that we are presenting is also an extension of the paper that we presented in an event organized by ISRA yesterday. So I was also invited in the middle of our AI World Summit to actually present my thoughts on that topic that you see earlier on. And I felt that it's going to be beneficial also to the mainstream audience as well as to the Sharia-based audience who may, who may be tuning in right now. And of course, I'm no Sharia scholar. Okay, I'm no Sharia expert, but Dr. Daud is here perhaps to make observation, to critique, and to give comments on how we blend, AI with wealth management, particularly in Sharia wealth management aspect. Okay, so to give perspective to Dr. Daud, maybe I would like to give a very short presentation that we put up together. It's only a couple of slides, but I thought it would give some general idea about why we think this topic is very important for the Islamic economy. Okay, may I have the slides, please? Thank you. I will invite my colleague and partner, SB Lim, to explain some of the projects that would be relevant for this discussion. So this is to enable us to have a more holistic perspective about the issue of AI and robo-advisory in terms of how realistic is the application in Sharia assurance and Islamic wealth management. Okay, so may I have my slides and then allow me to control at my end. Thank you, Amin. While waiting for the slides to be shown, I thought of providing some overview on this particular topic. As we know, COVID affects many people from a medical standpoint, healthcare standpoint, economic standpoint, social, amongst others. So we believe that by understanding the effects, by studying the effects of COVID on these three elements, education, wealth, and investment, it will provide a new perspective of how wealth management needs to be conducted or managed. Okay, and what do we mean by that? Okay, basically, we believe that when it comes to what comes to mind when we talk about wealth management in general, okay, we think about asset class, we think about security selection, we think about FX gains or losses, we think about economic risk assessment, amongst others, right? And we feel that wealth management should not be viewed so narrowly, okay, by way of technical definition, by way of application in the traditional sense. So to provide some holistic perspective, we want to showcase to you the correlation and the relationship between wealth, investment, health, and education. Okay, so we believe that wealth management should not be looked at from a pure investment perspective. It should be looked at it from a well-being of a person, well-being of a human perspective. So I'm going to talk about the gaps and opportunities that we see, not just in Islamic wealth management, but wealth management in general. And what's the need for AI, the impact that AI can have on these elements that I'm going to mention, and then the way forward. So when we talk about wealth management, we think of it as, like I said, investment, right? Stock selection, what products to buy, what products to sell, what products to invest in, whether it's Shariah compliant or not, etc. In our context, under the new normal, right? We need to think about wealth management in the context of how much resources are we setting aside for healthcare, education, and yes, investment itself. So we believe that wealth creation cannot stand on its own, okay, without taking into account the healthcare element, the education element together. So we have studied many financial, health, well-being, and educational status of many Asians, right? Let's not put a country to it, but in general. So there's a strategic link between financial planning with healthcare, investments, and education, because that's what financial planners do, right? But the question here is, why bring it up now? Okay, why after COVID? Why during COVID? Why after COVID? That we need to mention this? Why we need to discuss this? Why we need to investigate more into this situation? Okay, so allow me to explain about education first. Okay, many of us fail to set aside our reserves, okay, our finances to plan for the education of our children. Okay, they may not require a lot of expenses now. They may be getting some bursaries, they may be getting some scholarships at some point. But in some countries where you're not so lucky, right, ability to finance and fund your children's education or your own education will become quite limited. So the inclusivity element of education into your wealth management process and thought processes, right, sometimes goes missing because it's not your priority. So we believe that an education applying AI would be useful in the context of preparing young people, okay, people who are entering university. Before they enter university, you help them to plan and predict what courses to take, monitor their academic and non-academic performance, right? Why? Because if you're in your first year, second year, you must choose a subject that you like, you are good, and you want to pursue. And how do you ensure that is done? Because if you choose something that you don't like and you pay for the fees, you pay for your time, right? You pay with your life, right? In terms of your social activities and all that. And then you realize it's not something what you want after spending 3-4 years. And then you don't get a job that you like. Okay, and then you're not happy with your job, you skip jobs many times, and your income is affected. You don't have the ability to create wealth as a result. On the other hand, if you have a guided AI system that's able to match or understand your personality, that's able to understand your psyche, your interests, your capabilities, your natural talent, right? Not only that, it monitors your academic performance while you're studying, and it connects you to mentors or advisors while you are still studying. Why? Because while you're studying, you need to be inspired, you need to be motivated, you need to be connected to people who advise you. Oh, the starting pay is like that. Oh, your increment will be like that. Your ability to grow through the corporate ladder in this kind of firm versus a smaller size firm versus a much smaller kind of firm will be like that. Okay, so there's trade-off. There's advice going on to advise the students on what to do, what not to do, right? While they're still studying. And of course, AI can continuously, right, monitor what is the wage conditions, what are the conditions of companies that are hiring, what kind of terms, what kind of welfare, what kind of culture that they'll be working in. So if you know, while you are still studying, if you know what's your starting pay, if you know what is your increment, you know which industry is dying, which industry is lift up, right? You will know what kind of money that you'll get. When you know what kind of money you get, you start to think what kind of housing you can get, when are you going to get married, when are you going to spend, you know, on for your to your parents, to your girlfriends, boyfriends, partners, whatnot, right? So there's income, there's expenses, but you're still studying, you're still planning, right? You have not gotten that first job yet. But what AI can do is to prepare you in advance, to prepare for your future financially, socially, right? As well as in terms of your family, right? And when you create and manage wealth well, right? And this is where creation of wealth in the optimal sense can be achieved. Okay? So AI can be used even when you are still studying and you are planning for landing your first job or landing your first venture, but central to it will be financial literacy. There's a lot of studies that is done locally in Malaysia or even in Singapore, and we are not that savvy when it comes to managing finances, right? And even when you are still a student. But we cannot view students' financial literacy on a standalone basis. We must look at what type of jobs they are pursuing. Why are the different jobs giving different kind of pay? So different kind of pay gives you different kind of propensity to purchase, right? Propensity to spend. So by tracking, by using technology seamlessly to be able to look in your present and forecast your future, makes you think harder about working smart, working with passion, taking your first job, where to find a job and get mental help or mentor's help who's able to be vision for your type of field, for your type of expertise, or rather for your type of specialization in school. So imagine 500,000 of youth in Malaysia have this tool where they are able to anticipate the lack of or the type of good starting pay or good career prospects that they have. So this will provide them with a GPS, right? A GPS to plan for their future. So again, even though we're talking about wealth management here, I took a step back. I took a very preemptive or precursor to wealth management by looking at the root of it. Okay, so by looking at what you study, who will be advising you, what kind of jobs you'll be getting, and what kind of likely spending or income that you'll be getting that forms the basis of your wealth creation. So this is a very important step to me when we look at wealth management holistically. A very important issue is healthcare. So we are fortunate, blessed, and very grateful to be working with a medical group, okay, at a medical university to look at the issue of diabetes in Malaysia. Okay, diabetic patients in Malaysia. So the numbers are very scary. Okay, the numbers are going up, and of course, important thing is what happens if you don't have enough funds. Of course, we have the Baitumal funds to back some of the B40 patients. But how about countries that do not have the is not fortunate enough to have such welfare schemes or funding schemes to help them through the cost of dialysis, for example. And this is only dialysis, right? For diabetic patients. We're not even talking about other chronic diseases, okay? And where medication may not be, readily available and affordable, okay? And this is an important issue as part of Social Developmental Goals, SDG, United Nations SDG 3, right? So the thing about healthcare is about affordability and accessibility. So AI can be used to basically assess the current and future financial situation of a patient, of a person, right? And map it against potential healthcare needs, right? If you have all the indicators wired up, and really, I'm new to healthcare, for example, but in the last 2 to 3 months, my team and I have learned so much about the few 100,000 diagnosis terms, about the head to toe kind of symptoms of organs, and the benchmark and the matrix that are being used to measure health. Okay, that's the medical side, right? The physiological side, the biological side. The thing is, from a financial standpoint, what if these things keep appearing, and what happens if more illnesses start to appear? Are you financially ready to deal with it? Is your taka full, insurance, savings, right? And the financial assistance scheme enough to cater for that? Is it sustainable? Okay, is your illness a one-time thing or a continuous chronic thing? Now, for a moment, I sound like an insurance agent, right? I'm not. Okay, but what's important is that our ability to react or proact, right? Opposite of reaction is proactively, proact, right? Is in question right now. Robo-advisor for wealth management, okay, can be also be applied from the context of robo-advisor for healthcare, right? So when you are able to detect, okay, symptoms of your bodily conditions, right, your physical conditions, the statistics is very interesting. They said that 60% of stress-related illness can be prevented, which means about stroke-related illness, right? 60% can be prevented if diagnosed early, detected early. 60% of diabetic patients or diabetes, type 2 diabetes, can be prevented if detected and treated early. And 20% of cancer patients can be also prevented if detected early. So on one hand, you're talking about the medical side. On the other hand, you're talking about financial side. What if you use AI to bring the 2 points together and making sure that medically you are sound, right? Okay, and financially you are also sound to deal with any exigencies or last minute happenings or sudden occurrence of an illness. So we talked about a robo-educator earlier on, okay, in the context of wealth management. Okay, then we'll talk about, hang on a sec, let me just go back. Can I go back to the earlier slides? Yeah.
Try.
Yeah, fine.
Can you control?
Oh.
Let me, we give you the control.
Yeah, just go back to the slide that I left. Nisa, just go back to the slides that I left. Thank you.
Okay, I've given you control. Thank you.
No, can you control for my slides? Thank you. Okay, so when it comes to healthcare, you need to basically integrate the financial aspects of it to the medical aspects. So it becomes a robo-advisor for healthcare. And then earlier on, we talked about being it as a robo-advisor for education. So every involvement of, every time you involve education, there's an element of money. Every time you involve healthcare, there's also an element of money, right? And this money, unfortunately, relates to the spending side of the equation, not the income side of the equation. So if we missed out the spending side of healthcare, spending side of education, which are two areas that we sorely lack, right? Then wealth management becomes imbalanced. Then wealth management in a narrow sense starts to talk about investing, what products to buy, asset classes, currencies, exchange risk, and so on, right? So to us, looking from a people's standpoint first, okay, is very essential as part of the financial literacy and part of wealth management pursuit. Okay, and then moving on to the next slide. This one talks about, okay, fine, my education is fine, my healthcare is fine, but let's say I want to invest. Okay, I want to invest into a company. What do I do? Okay, so assuming that I have my reserves planned out, I've done my financial profiling, I've set aside all my reserves, right? Then the ability to invest into the right asset. You can be Shariah compliant, but are you really generating more, what do you call that, returns, or are you have no risk at all, right? What are your financial risks? What's your working capital risks? What are your management risks, right? So it's good to be Sharia compliant company, but are you managing your company strategically, financially, operationally, structurally, effectively, right? So this AI can be used to basically evaluate the financial health of a company beyond Sharia screening, beyond Sharia compliant. It finds out your strategies. It finds out the company's liquidity management strategies. It finds out about the way it handles its business expansion plans and programs. So AI can be used as part of your investment activity, okay, by looking at the financial health check and the soundness of the company's strategy. Okay, so if you're looking from an individual standpoint, you can actually work out your individual risk profile. Okay, look at my risk first, right? Financial planners love to do that, right? Okay, please tell me, Mr. Ahmad, your risk profile. So you have AI to actually profile your risk. Okay, and then based on your individual risk, Robo-Advisor will be able to find a company's risk. So you look at my risk, you look at the company risk. Oh, I'm a very risk averse. Please find me an extremely conservative company to invest at the stock level. Now I'm not talking even at the fund level, right? Not at the unit trust, not at the fund level, but looking at the stock level. Okay, so if I want to invest in a company and I'm conservative, okay, the system can analyze me, can recommend me what stocks to look at, okay, that are commensurating with my risk profile. So you can't recommend me a high risk stocks, but I'm a very low risk guy, right? So there'll be a mismatch. So machine can basically objectively look at your risk profile preference, matching it to the kind of company that matches your risk profile, that is very structured, very conservative, very properly managed, but yet, right, able to generate potential steady returns. Okay, and more importantly is the machine AI as a robo-advisor, not to tell you what to buy or sell. A robo-advisor in our world means that before you can decide whether you can buy or sell, you must understand the company even more. Okay, and I'll let the Sharia expert comment on the issue of uncertainty or gharar. Okay, so how do you predict the likely actions of the companies, right, the management, taking a certain kind of strategies, taking some measures? Because AI will tell you, oh, these are the 10 likely things that the company likely to do. These are the 10 risks that the company is facing, right? And what they need to do to address those risks, or will they? So if the machine highlights 20 to 30 risks and management hands off, don't want to do anything about it, do you think it's a matter of time before the company goes down under or gets into a fundamental or structural risk? Okay, so this is how AI as a robo-advisor, through a robo-advisor, can be intelligent enough. Okay, so now we're talking about the investment part, right? But take a step back. What did we talk about earlier on? We talk about how a student who's about to join the workforce, or a working graduate, okay, who's about to get married, okay, just as an example, not entirely as an example, as a representation of the population, but imagine, even you have not earned your first salary or first dollar or first ringgit of your income, you can make AI become your robo-advisor to plan while you're still studying. Okay, who can advise me? What's going to happen? What kind of job will I be getting? What kind of house or car should I be planning? Okay, so the context of wealth management to us starts when you're a student, start when you're still studying, or even after you studied, you just entered your first job or looking for a job, you need to plan properly, right? And of course, central to it, you know, we always have these wishes, right? Oh, Nazri, wish you the best of health, wealth, and prosperity. Wish you the best of health and wealth. See, the term of health and wealth always go together, right? Okay, you can have health and wealth if you're not reasonably educated. I'm not saying education guarantee everything, but you have to be reasonably knowledgeable and educated, right? To be able to earn a certain kind of wealth, right? And then to achieve a certain kind of health, you got to plan for it. Okay, you cannot wait till you're sick, then suddenly you are without savings, without protection, right? Without some form of takaful or insurance to protect you. Okay, so this is all about. Then we bring to investment. So it's about looking at it from a triangular point of view. So it's a three-party or three-tiered approach when it comes to wealth management. Okay, next one. Okay, so then you start analyzing, because you analyze the company earlier on, right? Now you analyze your individual. AI as a robo-advisor does not just tell you about, oh, buy this thing, buy that fund, this security is good. Buy this protection plan. No, it looks at your I don't understand by suspending patterns, but describe spending patterns. I think there's a typo error. Describe spending patterns and current financial position based on your character, personality, lifestyle, demographics, history, current situation, current life, going to change your life. So it takes into account all data from all sources and looks at your personality, lifestyle, scenario, how to create wealth, how to plan wealth. Now, this is where the understanding of how to manage your wealth becomes clearer, because you take into account education, you take into account health, right? But all these things need to be embedded together, okay, in such a way that it can predict future income and expenses. It creates a future avatar of you. It creates a future of you. Okay, of course, it's not guaranteed. We're not fortune tellers, right? But we are saying that if you continue to spend this way, if you don't change your spending habits, if you continue to lead a very unhealthy lifestyle, right? And these are the data, right? It's not just telling you, it's not just speculating. It picks up the data, but it does not broadcast to the world. It tells you as a robo-advisor, okay? And this is where you're lacking, this is your issue, right? This is what you need to do, and then it recommends. It even connects to people who can give you help. An application like this can basically change your life, right? For the better, hopefully. So this is what AI as a robo-advisor can do, and in the context of wealth management. Moving on. So to us, the way forward is that wealth management should be pursued holistically using AI. Do not view wealth management in a typical traditional sense of what to buy, what to save, how to buy, how to save, right? But you have to look beyond the financial aspects of it by looking at your interests, your competency, your choice of education, okay, your lifestyle, your kind of history, medical history, and what are the intervention measures you're going to do towards your health that will impact your spending in the future, right? Then, of course, we'll talk about personal wealth management in terms of your personal financial planning, and then you look into investment. So AI revolves not just the three components, but supported by investments and wealth management, okay, through personal financial planning. So this is the way forward about how financial preparedness can lead to wealth creation, okay? So this is what I have so far, and I hope Dr. Daud Bakar can provide some perspectives. If you go to the front cover page that talks about the title, right, that'd be great. Dr. Daud Bakar, are you there?
I'm here, but give me a few seconds or so to adjust my position a bit to be able to speak better for the session.
No problem.
Okay.
I will perhaps provide some context. SB, are you there?
Okay.
SB?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a presentation that you did while waiting for Dr. Daud to get ready, right?
Yep.
Case study 1 and case study 2, how AI is used to understand the mindset of consumers. And
Yep.
case number 2 is in the context of wealth management. Maybe you give your perspective on that.
Yep, sure,
Okay.
sure. If I may share my deck now.
Okay, Nazri, I'm ready at any point.
Okay, I let SB present first, yeah? Just 5-10 minutes more.
Okay.
All right. Now, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm going to show it to you is about the how AI technology is used, applied to a scenario of an FMCG organization. Now, before I go on to the detail, I just want to give you a little bit of background of this is an actual organization, a public listed company in Malaysia, very established, and they have a lot of data. And we are talking about, for your understanding, more than 200 million of data points and more than 50,000 retail points. Now, what happens if those data go into the engine? Now, it will come out something like this. A one-page report explained to you about this is a summarized version, explaining to you on the left side. This is, of course, the attention to the management of the FMCG company. It started off from, for example, what type of products brand is most sellable, growth the fastest on the top side, and then on the left, and also compare with their competitor, for example. And then moving on to the bottom, it actually also analyze what product type, what packaging size, and you also further analyze, channel type. That means from where they sell to, who are the wholesaler, and moving on at which location, and also to the left side at which customer group. When mine is a very large organization and have 50,000 retail points. And on the right side, it also explain at what price that the product are most sellable, growth the fastest, and when. Last but not least, on the left bottom right, it also explain qualitatively sentiment of the market toward the products. On the middle page, you'll see in narrative form, that's what the engine will do. And now so far these are all quantitative. Now moving on to the right side, actually the engine will also read the qualitative information and provide an insight. In this case, a sentiment to the organization. Now in this case, at that point in time, it read at negative because it was in the middle of COVID-19, and the organization operation is suffered some impacts. So it provides some insight there. So this is from the view of FMCG or consumer product organization, how they use AI to analyze, to understand customer needs, at product level, at location, at timing, etc. If I may move your attention to the next case study, which is a wealth management. Now this is from a user perspective. And the background is assuming this is a couple with 2 kids, and their financial data are all current process are manually analyzed. What happens if the process go into the engine? What would the engine tell them? Now imagine that is a scenario. If we move on to the next page, it will come out with a summarized report like this. Now this is a summary version. First and foremost, relate to what Mr. Nazri was explaining. He explained about the customer lifestyle profile. Now this is actual scenario. In what sense? Now you look at the details of it. It can be from housing, from car, from credit card, and so on and so forth. Various category of spending. So we actually analyze the individual or the couples. On the left side, on the middle side, you can see from the profile of the individual, what type of profile are they? For example, the engine will actually also interpret it. Imagine this is all automated rather than you have to go to a traditional survey type of process. And last but not least, on the right side, it actually also gives you an indicator and tell you where does you stand from financial planning standpoint. Now, these are all quantitative aspect of it. For example, from the protection, meaning amount of money you spend on protection, such as insurance, amount of money you spend on investment, are they in the right, right angle, right portion, for example. The third category is about your committed expense. Committed expense means your household expense, foodstuff, and so on and so forth. And finally, those waste expense, that means those not essential expense. Now the engine will read your financial information and analyze you, give you breakdown something like this as a source for you to do your financial planning moving forward. Now, this is how an engine will do automatically compared to if you were to do it manually and it will take a long time, for example. So I hope with this samples information, you can understand how an AI engine can help in financial wealth planning of an individual. Just now, Mr. Rasi was explaining some aspect of it. Now, this is like in actual number or format you can see in a report format. That's all I have. Back to you, Nazri.
Thank you so much, SB, for the brief, succinct, and impactful presentation. The difference between the two case studies and the relevance of the two case studies to the topic on hand is that we just want to let you know the capabilities of AI to profile customers. If you can't profile customers well, you can't basically, if you're the seller, you're a producer of goods, right? You will not be able to attract, okay, such consumers. In fact, there was a session this evening, this afternoon, about Consumer 4.0 and Manufacturers 4.0. For those of you who missed that, please check out the recorded links and try to understand. We have a panel of experts who talk about what sort of manufacturing modern methods that are needed to predict customer insights. And then for customers, it's like how to understand their psychological, mental, financial, and all that. So in the context of wealth management, there is the income, there is the spending, right? Income, spending, and how to grow it, how to minimize certain things, right? So by knowing the macro population, right, of consumers, not manual approach, but millions of data, combination of transaction, future plan, personality, social media, you'll be able to get a sense of what, what sort of financial position one is in, taking into account the non-financial position. That's what case study, the first case study that the SB said, shown, right? It's all about. Is to show the capabilities of not so much about marketing, but understanding the customer's pattern of transactions. And the other example will be the individual personal financial planning, which was part of my presentation earlier, which resonates to my overall presentation that talks about looking into the financial and non-financial aspects of it. Okay, so I'm very honored to have Dr. Daud Bakar to come, and again, really grateful. I know you are busy, you travel from place to place, right? But I understand your video now is able to be switched on, but this is you in poster form. So again, the topic, it's about having that robo-advisor, Datuk, robo-advisor, and how realistic, how effective, how impactful it can be in the context of Sharia assurance and Islamic wealth management, by seeing some of the examples that can lead to potential future innovation in the marketplace. Over to you, Datuk.
Yeah, thank you, Nazri, for having me this evening. Thank you all, the participants from across the globe. It gives me great pleasure to say a few words and share my perspective, being the founder and the chairman of MyFinB Malaysia, as well as an Islamic scholar practitioner in the space of Islamic finance for the last 25 years. I'm quite delighted to be speaking about the future for Islamic wealth management, leveraging on the smart technology, because this is the way forward. Islamic finance, Islamic wealth management is all about putting the right strategies at the right time to give the proper return to the society, particularly for their future, because wealth management is about planning for the future. And in some aspect of wealth management, they are talking about succession planning in terms of wealth for their first generation, second generation, and so on and so forth. And surely in our approach, at the MyFinB approach, we wanted to bring this Islamic wealth management to everyone to manage for the future, not only for the high net worth individual, which is very linked very much to the very discussion of wealth management globally, but in our perspective, even from Islamic perspective, everyone needs to be equipped, need to be prepared to manage their wealth moving forward. And without having the proper, guidance, of course, they won't afford to pay high level kind of, advisors to manage ton of money. But we think that Islamic or robo-advisor can fill the gap. Then everyone can come and connect to the robo-advisor to give them the proper advice, not only from Shariah perspective, but also the best option. And I'm delighted to hear from both Nazri and SP Lim that in our perspective, Islamic wealth management is not about products per se. It's a new concept altogether, holistic and approach. We need to be very much holistic and cohesive because the impact will be pervasive. So we cannot afford to manage the impact without managing the prerequisite and the proper foundation of putting your $1 investment for your future, be it to protect your life, your your job due to permanent disability, the children education, either at home or overseas, even your pension, if you like. And we have seen some data nowadays, and we wanted to do more that in some jurisdiction and countries, the pension system seem to be not effective anymore, not functional anymore, because people tend to live longer, and the saving plus the investment return, which is accumulated in the pension fund, proved to be insufficient to cover the longer period of time, because when the pension policies were drafted 30, 40, 50 years ago, the mortality age was a bit below, but now due to the advancement of the medical technology, people tend to live longer. And again, we have seen from some data that some countries started giving option for the workers to either go for pension, or they can use some of their salaries to pay the premium for the insurance and takaful for annuity scheme, vis-a-vis or in contrast to the pension scheme, because under annuity you can enjoy the financial guarantee or the financial payment all the way until you die. Unlike a pension, you are given one lump sum payment from your own saving and investment, and if that money being spent, then you are left without any financial guarantee. And this is the very basic of Islamic wealth management. Wealth management starts from the protection level. So the data is very strong on the protection. Then we look into products that can sustain your wealth. To sustain your wealth is a capital protection, capital protected fund, capital protected instrument, which we need to develop, and we need to use the data. What would be the right instrument for some people? Some of the products are 100% protected, some of them are 90% protected in terms of capital, and some of them are 50-50, but giving the proper and the higher return. Probability of return will be higher due to the higher degree of risk taking. So this is the second step: protection, sustainability, or to sustain the income and the capital protection and the income. And the third is to invest in something which is of high risk and high return, and perhaps not using all of your money, which is not advisable, but using some of your money into high yield kind of products that can bring the high profit if everything goes well. And here we can leverage on our robo-advisor to some extent to give proper information and decisioning process for the for you and for everyone to benefit from the trend, from the sentiment of the market, to look into higher risk and higher return. But at the end of the day, whatever we do, protection, sustainability, and high return, we need to fall back on the very basic. We cannot run away from basics. And data is about our behavior, our attitude in looking into basic requirement of education, the safety net of loss of job, loss of health, and what have you, in terms of lifestyle. And that's why the system should be, from my perspective, very holistic enough to be able to provide a very waterproof Islamic wealth management. If we are done with this basic safety net for wealth management, then we can bring the system to another level, 2.0 or 3.0 in terms of complexity and sophistication, to allow some of the investors to take a more aggressive way of doing things, using the data that he can be very much active in buying and selling or trading, if you like, of not only classical and traditional asset of shares, and negotiable instrument and unit trust and property risks and whatnot, but also will be able to look into futurist asset of digital asset of the cryptos and whatnot. And the algorithm should be developed to help you, if you like to go another level, to pick up the right asset, either modern or traditional asset, using the algorithm, which should be able to learn from the trend, the sentiment, the performance, the risk, and so on and so forth. So this is something that I have the pleasure to share with everyone in this limited time that we have. I hope that you would understand Islamic wealth management does talk to the technology, and the technology will be able to give more protection, give more sustainability, and give more confidence in taking the decision if you are about to enter into high risk and high gain kind of products to protect, sustain, and bring the highest possible yield for your investment, for your future, and for your next generation future and well-being. Thank you, Nazri, for that opportunity. More than happy to take any question if you have. Otherwise, this is the presentation that I think I should share with everyone in this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Datuk. We have so many questions for you. And we are very happy that you are able to teach us the three elements, right? Protect, sustainability, and invest in high risk, high return to get the best yield. Now, there's an element that is very much discussed during the entire AI World Summit, Datuk. This issue is not about protection alone, it's not about sustainability alone, it's not about investing, but the issue of trust. When you create a robo-advisor, okay, what are the ethical considerations that one needs to consider when you are dealing with Islamic wealth management, or for that matter, wealth management in general, right? So, because they talk about the ethics of AI, correct? So, in what way would a robo-advisor be contravening certain code of ethics in Islamic wealth management, and at which point would it fail to fulfill its responsibility, okay, in building trust, okay, and in building a set of ethics that would be necessary. As you know, there's no standards yet, right, per se. So if you were to come up with your set of code of ethics around this Islamic robo-advisor, right, what would that be?
Okay, I like to take a very practical approach, bottom-up approach, because robo-advisor could be very rare in the market. But the good thing about robo-advisor, because it is very much digital in character, very much transparent, very much open to the assessment by the stakeholders. So this is something that the normal fund manager, the normal advisor of the fund are not able or were not able to do because they are human. So they can, I'm not saying all of them, but it happened in the past. The fund managers using the fund of the investors looking for safe investment, they have used the fund for high risk and high return of derivative, the bearing case in Singapore and some other cases around the globe. But by having robo-advisor, which is digital, you can switch on the button of transparency, real-time assessment, real-time audit for that matter, compliance. So it is not about the tomorrow audit or end of the year audit. Everything can be made real-time, can be made transparent, because everything should be make transparent. And what more if you can bring the blockchain technology, then make everyone nervous of doing something which is not right, something which is not ethical. So this is what I call the inside compliant culture that can be made easy, or if not easier, through the digital feature of the product. From the external perspective, we can have or we can initiate another system or algorithm managed by the community to oversee all the robo-advisor for that matter, from the auditing, from the, they call it what, rating, we have rating now for the banks and the fund and even for the countries. We should have the robo editing as well, which is more of higher level, not motivated by the fund, by the return or the bottom line, so they can control. So we duplicate the current structure of check and balance, but now through another level of digital rating or robo rating agency or robo, if you like, international compliance standard using the digital as well. So we have the bottom up, the internal and the external, to ensure that we are on the right track, and we cannot avoid from check and balance. Though we are digital, though we are smart technology, we cannot take things for granted. We need to provide the check and balance all the way. What more, it is a robotic, but for me, robotic giving advantage compared to human being because it is very transparent. Humans sometimes they're not transparent.
Seems that you have dealt with lots of humans that are not so transparent. So now that you get to know robots better, right?
Yes.
You tend to have higher and higher expectations about what it can do.
Yeah.
And it gives us a lot of pressure or a lot of technology pressure to keep up to the standards, code of ethics, code of standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you give very out of the out of the, what do you call that?
Box.
Out of the box perspectives and views. And we are pleased to let you know that a lot of discussions in the past tracks and up till now, your own track, we will be curating your inputs, right? And publish it in your book, and you will be providing the whole forward and perspectives on all the 31 sessions. So this is one of our little exercise, our goal. Is to curate the knowledge. So your out of the box thinking will be definitely embedded into the publication, inshallah. And that's why I need to ask you more questions to get you to say futuristic thinking thing, if you don't mind, Doctor. I know it's kind of tiring, but let's stretch a little bit more. Now, when you talk from ethics, let's move on to the predictive and the prescriptive element of AI. You always like the fact that either than being objective, you like AI to predict, to prescribe, right, recommend things. Now, in the context of a Sharia practitioner, okay, it's still in the context of wealth management. when you have what do you see? What do you see is possible to have a robo Sharia scholar someday? Okay, who can give us fatwas or rulings on certain financial instruments or investment, structures and so on. Do you think that's possible? And at which point would this what do you call that be accepted by the community at some point? Let's push your thoughts into the future.
Okay. I think the whole idea of creating Robo Sharia advisor is doable by any standard. It's not rocket science. It can be done. The only challenge, Nazri, is to create a waterproof algorithm acceptable to every segment of the society, the stakeholders, from the scholars community to the public at large, to the regulators and what have you, that this is an algorithm which is waterproof, which is getting the credential from various stakeholders in the market. If you can, bring everyone to agree on this algorithm, then the Robo Sharia advisor will be less significant because the algorithm is the determining, factor. Having said that, even the current algorithm for humans is not being agreed upon. So as we talk, we have scholars across the world, we have scholars across school of thought, of course, even within the same country, what more across the nation and Islamic world and beyond. And this is normal for humans to have their own independent reasoning, independent, intelligent exercises. We cannot stop them, and we have to allow that to happen among natural person. So my motion that we need to allow the same thing, to have different algorithm for different robo Sharia advisors. Let's say we have robo Sharia advisor imitating or replicating the mindset of a scholar A. We have another robo advisor imitating scholar B. Or perhaps we can have different algorithm embedded within one robo. Robo is not about physical robo, it's about algorithm, the super computing machine learning to be able to absorb all the issues, and using the aggregate knowledge of the past, of the current, and the psyche of that particular scholar or group of scholars being put together in the algorithm to think for the Sharia issue. So I think that would be doable, but the only problem, how can we trust the robo to decide on the very sensitive issue about what is permissible, what is not? I think only time will decide. We have to give the time to to take this challenge. Perhaps in the next 5 years, it will be tough, it will be challenging, but after 5 years to 10 years, the new millennial and the new community would be more receptive, because they have seen, or they will see by then, we have the robo judges, robo lawyers, robo doctors, robo accountant, robo teachers, robo cleaners at the moment in our house, and robo so many things. And by then, I think the Sharia, robo Sharia will come in as a natural progression in the society.
Well said, Dato. Very, very futuristic indeed. Now, you mentioned quite a bit of this term called Sharia algorithm, the algorithm that sits behind, okay, in the context of what we're discussing today, it's about the Sharia robo-advisor. And then pick up what you said very frequently in all your speeches and your talks about algorithm, right? The Sharia algorithm. Now, in the context of assurance and wealth management, right? What do you think the Sharia algorithm entails, or how do you think it can be applied to uplift the standards of Sharia assurance and Islamic wealth management in Malaysia as a start? What would be your perfect, if not perfect, near perfect algorithm sector?
I think nothing much can be added, because the human civilization has been able to identify the highest level of accountability, transparency, responsibility, disclosure, arm's length transaction, no insider trading, taking care of the interests of the investors more than anything else. And these are the good thing of Sharia. Though they didn't come within Sharia community, they were developed in the West, most of them. But if you apply the Sharia gap analysis, you would have found that these practices, not all of them, most of them, are in line with Sharia principle of protecting the rights of the counterparties, the investors in particular, the role and responsibilities of intermediaries, of the advisors, financial. They cannot simply put the fund for their customers claiming wealth management, but most of the revenue goes to their fees, to their pocket, rather than for the interest of the investors. So this is something that we can pick and choose, and I'm not having the problem with that, because we can get the best of the best practices and we can turn them into algorithm, and we can have the Sharia scholars to come and verify and give their blessing, vetting through and say that these are all of these are in line with the Sharia principle of, rights and disclosure, even anti-monopoly law. We can put almost everything that we have, a good thing of them, and we bring the Sharia collective endorsement, and those can be converted into algorithm, and that algorithm we decide on its own, dealing with the behavior of the fund manager, the behavior of robo-advisory as well, the intermediaries, the marketing, the narrative, the boardroom discussion, the media management, and so on and so forth. Because when you have the algorithm, let the algorithm work for you, and this is the future of the world. We let the system work for you. We supervise, we monitor, and we add value to the system to improve not only the bottom line, but also the humanity, the brotherhood, the well-being of the society, by putting additional algorithm to take care of whatever you believe and you stand for in terms of Sharia. You need to take care of poor, underserved, and so on and so forth. So be it. We can put the algorithm, we can give the rating immediately. You launch your product today for Islamic wealth management, but the data shows your product does not serve the community even 1%. So it become, it become bling that this product compliant, Sharia, and good bottom line, but it does not serve the community. So the other algorithm or community will come in and interject. This product is bad for the society. For example, I'm just putting the hypothetical question, because when you have the data, it belongs to everyone. There's no more one party, impose anything on the other party, because the data has no religion, has no sectarian, and has no home address. It belongs to everyone. It protects everyone.
Sounds like blockchain technology to me.
Blockchain is to add on to the security of the system, but algorithm is smarter than that.
So you have undoubtedly laid to rest about the issue of integrity and transparency in terms of Sharia assurance and Islamic wealth management. Say about 94%, right?
Yeah, provided you control the algorithm from day one.
Okay, and on the other side of the coin, it's about the current efficiency and productivity of Sharia assurance and wealth management being delivered to the masses.
Yeah.
Do you think there's room for improvement for Robo-Sharia advisor to come in and smoothen and quicken the process from a retail standpoint?
I think it's not, this is not about room for improvement. This is the most right time, giving you the right time to catch up the game of bringing the 5-star and the Madonna, if you like, if I can use that word, of Islamic wealth management to the system, because we have the technology, we have the data, we have the profiling of the Muslim investors across the income bracket. So we were not able to do that because to deal with those data manually or otherwise would be time consuming, costly, and so on and so forth. But now Islamic investment can be offered to youngsters, to students before they enter the university, when they got first job, when they got married, when they got the first promotion, when they decided to leave the work on their own. So we can provide so many Islamic wealth management all the way on the shelf, so they can pick up, they can switch quickly because of the technology that they have. So this is for me the revolution of allowing people, everyone, to have access to Islamic wealth management. In the past, they were deprived from this sector. Only the high net worth individual are able to pay if they are having 1 million US dollar income a year. How about the poor, the poor people having a saving of 10,000 in a year? How could they invest in 10,000 for their own wealth management protection, be it a bit of protection, a bit of sustainability, a bit of higher return for higher, risk, but taking them collectively, it gives them still a better chance to be moving away from fixed deposit, from the unit trust, which is very much not in line with the unit, with the Islamic wealth management, which goes beyond that, the fixed income and the small dividend and the unit trust scheme and environment.
Thank you so much, Datuk. Excellent answers. For those of you who tune in since the beginning of the program, if you'd like to ask any questions, boleh ditujukan menerusi the Q&A Zoom chat. Please post your questions in the Q&A section to take the rest of Dr. Daud's time to answer. So if not, we will move on to the last question while waiting for any external questions that may come from the members of the audience. So Datuk, in terms of the topic today, right? And assuming that you wear the hat of a policymaker, assuming, I'm not saying you should make a decision, but assuming you wear that hat, where do you think, how do you balance between innovation and restriction, right? So you want to encourage more creators or more inputs into Robo-Advisor to become very intelligent, right? To create the innovation thing. At the same time, if you were a policymaker, you're concerned about data, about trust, about protection, about cybersecurity and all that. How do you balance, there's no perfect answer, but I just need your idea. How do you balance between putting rules and controlling and growing innovation? What are the parameters that you need to consider, okay, to carry out a very successful Sharia-based robo-advisor, in your opinion?
I think, I mean, in my humble knowledge and humble aspiration, there shouldn't be any restriction. There shouldn't be any fear of the technology. In fact, we need to be more familiar. We need to convert our fear into familiarization. What is more important is to avoid any misuse of the technology, any potential fraud, cheating, scam, and what have you. So that by doing that, we can focus our resources, financial or otherwise, to develop system to counter these potential issues in the society. We have so many problems without the technology of fraud and cheating, insider trading, even the narrative of the marketing guy are not following to the right ethics. But by having the robo supervision, if you like, I don't know, I'm not saying robo regulator, but a robo, inspector, if you like, that can go around and pick up the potential breach of governance and breach of laws of the country. I think that should be the way forward. So there shouldn't be restriction when it comes to product development, but there should be more control and more investment in creating the smart technology to overcome those potential breaches of the law and the standard of financial integrity and so on and so forth.
Excellent, Doctor. Please kindly take a look at two questions that just came in your Q&A window. One from Brother Rashdan and Brother Muhammad Sufyan. Okay, let's take on Rashdan's question first, because you were just touching on the issue of ethics and governance and rules, right? So based on this AI and Robo-Advisor, how does the audit process done to verify that the information provided is accurate and not mislead?
The same question should be addressed to the natural person auditor. How does he verify the numbers and figures? And that knowledge can be embedded in the algorithm of the robo auditor. Exactly the same. This is the basic answer, but the more advanced answer, the system would be too intelligent to be able to compare the numbers and figures to the environment ecosystem, ecosynthetic auditing process, which human cannot do. Yes, they may do, but a lot of guessing work. But the data is much more accurate than the guessing work. So the data can pull up from the same company, the same perhaps location, the same business, the same profitability, the same capital, whatever capital and human resource, the synthetic auditing will come in. This is the second element to improve the quality of robo auditor. The third is to put 1001 question to the prospective client, which human cannot do that. So from the behavior of the client, profiling of your client, profiling of his CFO, profiling of his 3 or 5 years financial report. So you can create your own list of, if you like, question to verify the potential non-disclosure, for example. And this is something that the system can do within minutes, if not seconds, that human will not be able to anticipate based on the same character of the company, of the person in other part of the world. I hope that I call corroborative data. So we can use the corroborative data to make the data perfect at the end of the day.
Very well said, Datuk. Very good. I agree. I wanted to add on, but you said all my answers and points, so I will not add on to it. You said all my points. Thank you. Thank you, Rajdan. Now, Mohd Sufyan, how can AI affect human job employment? I guess there's two ways to look at it. It's a layered question. You know, will it cut jobs or will it create jobs? So maybe it's a very famous question, Doctor. But we want to hear from you on this one.
Okay, I think when the first or the second IR took place in 1860, when the factory were emerging then, and people were afraid about the loss of job. People migrated the rural to urban cities. Urbanization started in late 19th century. The same fear was brought up, but somehow factory create more job. Factory create more opportunities and upgrade the skill of the people from farmers and urban dwellers to rural inhabitant to become urban citizen, and that create more job. And the third IR in 1960 with the discovery of oil and some chemical element can open up the research and whatnot, create more job as well. In the case of IT and the smart technology and robo, whatever we have, it can create more job, because the more we settle with the back end jobs that human tend to do, the human can be upgraded to do more of higher level of sophisticated works. And mind you, I mean, we are not using our mind up to the mark. So when we are free, I hope so, when we are free from doing the routine work and the back-end work, we have more time, we have more energy to discover so many things. And people, when they discover so many new things, job will be created. The new technology, the new environment, the new social theory, the new this, the physics, the chemical, and the sport, entertainment, because people can focus on something of higher level, then job can be created. So you have to see, or I have to see job not only from basic job, which are being done by human at the moment, but when those jobs have been taken care of by, if you like, robot, then human have all the time to discover and to open up new opportunities. This is from a very humanistic approach. From the Shariah approach, Allah, the Almighty, knows that technology will come forward, and in the Hadith, in the Quran, jobs are always relevant, evergreen all the time. So jobs are being created so that people can work and can earn something, and that's why with the new technologies, the robo at the moment, perhaps nano in the future, and super nano in the future, job will be very much human creation. It's up to human to be creative, and don't ever think that the robo will take away our job. Yes, of some people, but the same people being affected, they can do better job in the future.
Thank you, Datuk. And any more questions from members of the audience? You can be anonymous when you post those questions if you're shy. So no question is silly. Every question means a lot.
Okay.
Don't have, huh?
Don't have.
Blink twice. Blink three times. Okay. So Datuk Dr. Daud Bakar, you have been such an awesome guest and a speaker. Before we let you off, we would like to hear one last vision for you, from you, to hear a vision from you into the future, into 2021, 2022, in the next 5 years to come. How do you expect AI going to change the world? Okay, and where do you think they are going to change?
I think winning is an inside job. So we need to manufacture and craft the winning culture from within. And in order to do that, we need to absorb all the potential, equities of the current time. And one of the most expensive equities, other than cash and knowledge, is the data. The data has become very much equity. Many big companies nowadays, their balance sheet has been viewed from the data that they have, the connection that they have, and the usage of data to create more job opportunities. So government has become e-government. GLC has become e-GLC. Even in my own financial world, the due diligence has become robo due diligence nowadays, without a need to transfer to Beijing or Shanghai, to Ghana, to Kenya, so people can launch the very smart due diligence process to do the counterparty checking from the AMLA, from the what have you. So everything has become ready to make the equity of data the most expensive data of the world. So let us, if you like robo, so be it. If you don't like robo, so be it. But you cannot ignore data. Data is the darling of the future. Thank you, Nazri.
Well said. Thank you, Dr. Daud, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. It's late for those calling in from Asia, but we appreciate you staying through the session and hear from the very wise, very impeccable Dr. Daud Bakar. Dr. Daud Mohd Bakar. See, dah sampai malam pun I tersasul juga. But if you want to hear, for those of you who missed what he said earlier, please contact the admin, contact the committee to get access to the link and to the recorded link and the transcription later on. Yeah. So, Dr. Daud, thank you so much for your time, and let's get back very, very soon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.